Today, we're gonna install the skin for your 70 to 200 GM. This is the version 2. The first thing you wanna do is make sure you have the right skin for the right lens. And next, you're just gonna clean your lens if it's dirty. Even if it's brand new, I still recommend just a quick wipe down. Depending on the skin that you choose, the layout is very similar. This is our sketch art design. It's very polarizing. It's not for a lot of people, so we're gonna use this one as our guide. If you're new to applying skins, the first thing you wanna do is start with the easy parts. Parts that are easy to apply, that will take no time. Then you wanna move on to the harder parts, such as these very intricate strips right here. What I like to do is always start with the lens hood. It sets the base for the entire installation. So I want to start from the top and then move down towards the bottom. The lens hood is quite easy. I do recommend gently peeling all the skins. Do not rush through it. You could just use your finger. And what I like to do is sometimes if there's intricate parts like this, I would actually pull from that section. You can pull from both sides as well if you don't want to stretch the skin. And that's another thing we want to notice. Do not stretch the skin when you're applying it. So doing the hood, I like to just align it with the Sony logo. Again, I do apologize for the sketch art design. It's not going to show very clearly, but it's the same process for all our skins. So once you have the Sony aligned right in that cutout, next we're just gonna, again, not stretch the skin, but guide it by rolling into it, like so. We're just gonna rotate this and do it again for the other side. You wanna follow the body lines carefully. Now, if you do get to sections where the seams don't really match up, I recommend just very lightly peeling it off and doing it again. Gently peel. You see that there was a little gap here that I forgot, so it will need to be closed off. Now for this opening section, we're going to use a tweezer. It's quite easy. Now with the tweezer, you're just going to align it with the little triangle. Now this part's pretty crucial. When you're applying, you got to make sure that none of this vinyl is sticking out, because if it is, it's going to catch on this doorway here. So if you have a squeegee or something flat, we're just going to aggregate that so it stays flat. So now if you push up, the skin is not going to catch. So that's how you know you did a good job installing it, if the skin doesn't catch and it's still flat. Now this part is optional. If you're worried about it catching or you're not that great at installing intricate pieces, you can avoid that as well. The tweezer is very helpful for small intricate pieces. Everything is at your discretion. If there's a part that you don't want to install, you don't have to, but we do give you the option. Next, we're going to move on to this piece here. Same process as every other piece. We're just going to align it, the cutout, with their designated areas. So this one would be the red dot. And you don't want to apply pressure until you can confirm that it's exactly where it should be. Once you apply pressure, you activate the adhesive and it sticks really well. So be mindful of that. Again, I am not stretching the skin. I'm just merely rolling into it. Matrix black is included for all the rubber and zoom rings and focus rings. For the matrix black, you could definitely stretch this. I kind of recommend that. And it will overlap the previous section, as you can see here. So moving on to the body, I did remove the tripod feet here to make the application easier. Now you can start from the top where the red dot is, or you can start from the middle. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. For me, I like to start with the middle. I like to get the hard part out of the way. So this is a very intricate piece. So what I like to do is gently peel from both sides, like so. And this is a very thin strip. You do not want to agitate it. So I'm going to stop when it hits here. And that's just to slowly get it ready. Next, we can peel from the other side, and it should come off as gentle as possible. You want to be very mindful of these two very thin strips. So what I recommend doing is aligning it with this cutout first, the 70 to 200. It's a little bit off, but I think I can work with it. So once you have that, we're just gonna lay this down for now, not to focus on that. And I want to focus more on these two little strips. So be very gentle and just let it glide over, not glide, but gently lay on top of those two very thin outer areas. You could use your tweezer to manipulate and maneuver and make these micro adjustments. So this is the double-edged sword of having ultra precise cut skins, is you get a really amazing fit. It's just a little bit more complicated to install. The rest is pretty straightforward. You're just going to peel the skins. Again, be very gentle. Align it with their designated areas and just lay them down. So I like to start from the G Master logo and slowly find the other areas. It is precision cut, so if you have one of the areas perfectly aligned, the rest will fall into place. Like so. So the tweezer is really good for these small, minute details. Next, we'll apply this section. So there is a cutout here where it's meant to open up, so we can actually put it around the wheel. Now what I like to do is maybe just use a tweezer just so it can close off. It's hard to see with black on black, but you could definitely tell that it's lined up with the black dots. Once you have that done, you can come back and make micro adjustments to this area using your tweezer. Again, we're just going to follow this same rule. We're going to be very gentle in peeling it. Here, we just want to lay down, starting with the A. So if you can see here, just going to align it with the A. You do not need to stretch this section unless you find it necessary. Look at that. Everything's lined up perfectly. I notice the A is a little bit off, so I'm just going to lift it up just ever so slightly. Same applies for the focal range. I like to start with the 200. Once you have that aligned, it should sync up pretty well with the other side. Remember, this is at your discretion. You could do any piece that you want. You do not have to follow this chronologically. I am just doing it based off what's available to me and what I think is more convenient. But of course, if this is your first time, you can absolutely just follow every strip that we're doing, just so you can follow along. The steadier your hands are, the cleaner the lines will be when you have seams. Especially when you're doing a darker vinyl wrap on a brighter lens, the seams are quite visible if your application isn't that great. So look at this. It's almost looking like a 2D art drawing. So next we will do the E-mount section here with this little white dot, and you're just gonna follow the bottom body line like so. It should line up pretty well. Do not go off and veer off into different directions. Look at that. Should blend in quite nicely. We can move on to the curved arced strips. So the first ones would obviously be for here. The second row obviously is meant for here, and the third rows are meant for here. Because this is free spinning, you can start basically anywhere. It doesn't have to align with the seams that you have in other sections. And what I like to do is just hold the skin and just roll the ring. All right, so once you have the body fully installed, you could choose to install the other sections as well. Everything is at your discretion, so feel free to omit it or include it. If you have any issues with any parts, feel free to contact us via support@alphagvrd.com or just use our live chat. And if you want to talk to a human, just give us a call too. Our phone number is listed on our fact page. If you're wondering what this section is, it actually goes on here. It's for the tripod leg mount. Now this section here is intended for the buttons, so if you want to apply to the buttons, you can do that as well. We're just not going to do it just for time's sake. And next, they are in sequential order, so this is the top, this is towards the bottom, so you know exactly where it goes. And it will overlap it just a little bit. And with that said, I like to just pinch one part of the skin while I roll the other one. And what you could do is you could tug it ever so slightly, just so it fully encapsulates the ring. And once it gets to the end, it should overlap by a decent amount, so it doesn't come loose during usage. You still want to make sure that the rings rotate completely without any interference. So like so, always check everything is functional. Nothing should be impeded when you're installing the skin. If you notice that it's stuck, that means you've installed it wrong, so just peel and reapply. So once you have everything done, you can put everything back together. But that is the guide for your 70-200 GM2.